Week 7. Who is going to take you next level? Who's going to be the bust of the week? I want to know right here at Tony Cutillo, right here on the Alternative Edge, part of the Tony Cutillo Show, obviously powered by the good friends over there at BetQL. Use that code word Jigsaw for 15% off. As always, we got some crazy parlays. We got some good DFS values. We got some fancy football edges that we want to bring to you like we do always. We'll check the BetQL board, see what their number one bets are for this week. We'll see what their number one games are that they're pointing at. But the most thing you could do is like, subscribe, as always, and get involved in the program. My man Japan, check it in. Listen, it's late this week. Had a rough week. Like just a lot of work going on, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, which is always good. Busy is good. Okay, busy is good. But sometimes, listen, man, sometimes you gotta take a little break to come back even stronger, right? So looking forward to this Sunday. Looking forward to my birds getting back on track a little bit. The Carson Wentz game, possibly. But again, let me know what you're looking at in the comments. Let me know who you start. Looking forward to your take for this juicy. My man Sean says juicy slate, right? Juicy slate. As always, just so everybody, because I've been hit up a couple times. It's so weird. Okay, it's so weird because I tried to what I've been trying to do is I again, everybody knows I'm all over the place, right? I work for several different places. I try to do several different things. And what I try to do is I'm trying to combine everything into one area, right? So the Tony Cutillo Show, not just Philly, obviously, because it's not just Philly, because we talk about everything. So a lot of people are just finding me. Now I changed the hashtag. It is at Tony Cutillo Show, but the name is Tony Cutillo, right? So I have a Rise with Tony account that I was beginning to, but I want to gravitate towards that because I had a little bit of everything. So this is the main account. So people are just getting to me like, "Yo, man, where you been? I thought you felt where I've been. I've been here all the time, right? I just been changing my branding a little bit. So if you haven't got involved, make sure you like and subscribe. As always, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Going well, subscribe right here at on X at Tony Cutillo Show. Get involved in the program. Get involved in the program because what we do, and Sean is in, and Japan is in right now watching. If you're watching on a different YouTube channel, it's because I'm trying to bring everybody into the one same YouTube channel. Okay, so if you're watching right now on the Heat Ratio Sports YouTube channel, which I see about 9 people right now, get over Tony Cutillo Show YouTube channel, hit that like, hit that subscribe, get involved in the program. Now, just so everybody knows, this is about value. Everything that we do on this program is about value. You're not going to hear any Saquon Barkley bets unless there is extreme value. You're not going to hear any Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown bets for minus 225. That's not what you're going to hear here. I don't care how much money you bet. I don't care how much you put on the ticket. It doesn't freaking matter to me. What matters is how can we bring out the gems, right? How can we bring out the gems? And again, as always, the plus money prop train, always active and alive. Japan checking in already says Jalen Coker over 2.5 receptions at plus 115. I like that. I like that. I do think I'm calling this a very, very small Carson Wentz game, meaning I don't think Minnesota's going to win. Okay. I still think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to come out on top, but I do think Carson Wentz is going to have a decent enough showing because he's an ego maniac. He's an egomaniac. Take whatever he said in that press conference about not remembering. It was so long ago. My man remembers. My man remembers. Okay. My man remembers. So with that, let's get right into DFS a little bit. And I want to let everybody know when I put these names up here, yes, they're shown because I look at them as value for your DFS tickets. However, use them for your betting markets, whether it be receptions, whether because you're going to see them in some of my parlays, right? Whether it be anytime touchdown bets. We have hit 3 out of 4 weeks. We've hit on a value tight end play every single time. Okay. That because again, they offer maximal value. So here's the 2 tight ends, that I'm looking at specifically for this week. So I love Mason Taylor this week. Okay. 3,400. And I get he was the shiny new toy and everybody was jumping on him. Okay. And he didn't live up to expectations. Okay. I get it. All right. I get it. I understand. However, Read the room a little bit. Read the room a little bit. Listen, Aaron Glenn, as much as we know that we think that he's not in line to be a head coach, like a lot of, I should say as much as we do, as much as people should think, okay, because they're always going to bring that moniker about he should only be a defensive coordinator. He's not ready to be a head coach. Who is ready to really be a head coach when you've never been a head coach in 5 weeks? You have to grow into the role. You also have to grow into your players. I know everybody wants to kill Justin Fields, but that dude ain't got 5 seconds to throw the ball 75 to 80% of the time. Now, the other 20%, he needs to make good with it. I understand. However, in a game where you're going up against a defense, listen, that defense is not great. It's good at times in Carolina, but you're playing at home in front of a home crowd. It's going to be, listen, it's going to be loud. It's going to be fiery there, but no Garrett Wilson. Remember that. There's no Garrett Wilson. So you tell me, and I will, you tell me who is the next man up for Garrett Wilson. Again, tell me who is the next man up for Garrett Wilson. Exactly. Well, you go, Aaron Lazard. Are you going to give me Aaron Lazard? Are you? I hope not. Right? I hope not. And I say this because you have to read the room about not only what the injuries are, okay? Not only what the injuries are, but you also have to read the room and say, you know what? Listen, the way I look at this, okay? You're looking at Garrett Wilson, who even on a bad offensive team, was getting 8 to 10 targets a game. Easy. Those are gone now. And they're not going to go to Breece Hall, okay? They're not going to Al Lazard, maybe 1 or 2. There's still going to be a good 5 to 6 targets sitting out there for the tight end in Mason Taylor. Listen, he's a rookie. Every now and then you're going to hit. Listen, he went up against Denver last week against Vance Joseph. Can we give this D coordinator some props? Vance Joseph, how much pride does he have? He got fired as a head coach from Denver and still came back to be their DC under Sean Payton because he knows he's a brilliant mind and he knows that between the two of them, they can make a championship team. So I'm not worried about that one catch stud. I'm not worried. I'm looking at this week against Carolina. Okay? Against Carolina. And I know that they're very good against opposing quarterbacks. I understand. But again, he is not with Garrett Wilson. So I look at this as 3,400. Listen, maybe you get a catch line of 4 for 40 and he gets in the end zone. You happy with that? I sure as hell am. 4 for 40 and a touchdown. That's something I'm striving towards when I talk about value right here. Okay. When I talk about value right here for that number. Okay. Sean wants to know, where are you at the Washington receivers this week? Obviously, because we know all the injuries, right? Sean, let me get through that. Let's talk about that because that's going to be interesting. Okay. That's going to be, because again, that's one of those games where, again, I look at it like they need to win. Like Washington needs to win. And that's going to be an absolute shootout, right? We already know that. You got to over and under a 54 and a half. It's insane. We know it's going to be an absolute shootout, okay? Debo out. McLaurin out, right? I mean, where are we going, right? Where we go? I mean, are you really going to buy all in to Zach Ertz? I'm not. I tell you what, a sneaky play is going to be Jeremy McNichols. A sneaky play is going to be Jeremy McNichols. And the reason why is he's our third down pass catching back, and they trust him. So you have to look at this Washington receiving core and say, who trusts us? Obviously, everybody's going to jump in on Luke McCaffrey. I think that's going to be, again, Luke McCaffrey to me is the guy that's more going to be invested from Jaden Daniels in order to take that next step in this game. But the cool part about this game, I think, Sean, the best part about this is a game where we know it's going to be a ton of points. This isn't like we're going up against the Cleveland Browns. We're like, oh man, do we really want to touch this game? Because all these receivers, I mean, we watched Kendrick Bourne go off the other week, right? A couple weeks ago, and all of a sudden insert himself into the Niners when they had all those injuries. So we're looking at a guy like that. Will it be Luke McCaffrey? I don't know, but we're looking at value, right? We're looking at value. So one guy I will continue to say, because it's all about trust. So I gave you Jeremy McNichols. Okay. For me, I gave you Jeremy McNichols. That's a guy, again, that I would look at. Okay. That I would look at. So right now, they're out everybody in Washington. Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Deebo Samuel. They're all gone. So are you going to buy into the rookie in Jalen Lane? Maybe. I don't know. Right? Like, how many people can sit here but like, just go out and get Jalen Lee, right? Again, he's been targeted at least a couple times every single game. There is a little bit, right? There is a little bit, but again, I do think that if you want to get very valuable, if you want to get major value, I think it's at Jeremy McNichols from the pass catching. Again, this is just because I look at it and say, okay, here's a guy McNichols that you maybe get. I don't know what his prop is on catches, but I would take the over because it's probably 1.5. 1.5 or 2. I'm taking the over. So if anybody wants to look that up, what's the props on Jeremy McNichols in the Washington game? Because that's kind of where I would lean as far as a betting value. Again, I there's going to be points scored. So I think that McCaffrey's obviously going to be a good guy to have. Ertz is going to be a good guy to have. Jalen Lane, because at least he gets a couple targets, he's going to be a good guy to have because there's going to be a lot of points. I'm just saying that I wouldn't say like one of these guys is going to blow out of the water, right? I think that there's going to be multiple ways for them to get involved in these games. If that, obviously, if that makes sense, that's the way I look at it. Through my eyes, and I know my eyes aren't the same as everybody, right? Luke McCaffrey, they are great. Listen, here's a great number by Japan. Luke McCaffrey, anytime you're almost getting 4-1 odds on an ATD from Luke McCaffrey. That game's going to be a ton of points. It's going to be a very underwhelming game if they do not score points. Okay, it's going to be a very underwhelming game if they do not score points. So I like that. Luke, I think I'm going to put a couple units on. I'm going to put a unit on that. Definitely, I like that, Japan. We're going to play that. We're going to ride that together. Anytime touchdown, Luke McCaffrey +3. I'm going to see if I can get that a parlay in that game. Maybe a McCaffrey, right? Maybe let's go. I know CeeDee Lamb's coming back, but maybe a Ferguson McCaffrey ATD combo, right? Maybe a McCaffrey Ferguson ATD combo. I like that. Let's go. I told you about Mason Taylor. I again love TJ Hawkinson in this game, and I hate to say it. Because it gets my birds, right? I'm always going to be go birds. Right? That's who I am. But I got to take that hat off for a second, not physically because my hair's not cut yet. I'm going to get my man AJ to cut it next week. Blades and Fades. Make sure you watch Blades and Fades. My man AJ. AJ knows ball. Like Japan says, my boy, he's growing, brother. He's growing. I love it. Okay, so make sure you check that out. Blades and Fades. He gives you 3 blades, 3 guys that are sharp, 3 guys that are fades that you want to fade every week. So he's doing a really, really good job. Look at this. Here's the bet. Sean, I love it. Thank you. Just like we were in on Whittington. Remember we hit Whittington, right? From the Rams. Because listen, that number, again, not a lot of value of -135. Okay, however, that's the number I would want to hit. I actually would want to hit that McNichols reception. Okay, I do. I think I would want to hit that McNichols reception. Now, here's let me stay on that for a second. Okay, let me stay on that for a second because I want to look at McNichols for a minute. So, just to give you guys an idea, 8 targets in 3 weeks. Jeremy McNichols has 8 targets in 3 weeks. Last week, they were still dealing with injuries. And what has happened? The more that they've dealt with injuries in that receiving staff, he's doubled his targets from 2 to 4. You might not think it's a lot. It is a lot to me. Last week, 3 for 30 in Chicago. And why was it in Chicago? Because it was a game that had a lot of offense. Okay? Just like this game. Jeremy McNichols is a guy I'm buying into this week. From the betting market specifically. I don't care about I'm talking about the receiving market. With all those guys out, I would not be shocked to see him in double running back sets with Bill as the lead back, and McNichols spot out to the left in a flanker position or in the flat. So look at that, people. Look at that. Sean, I love that. Do me a favor, Sean. What is the over under for his receiving? Can you look at that for me while we're live? I'd appreciate it. I don't want to flip too many screens and get myself all confused here. So because I'm wondering if we should combo that. I wonder if we should. I think we could combo that specifically. So I love that play right there. Let me get into why I love Hawkinson. I love Hawkinson because you have to look at what's going on in Philadelphia. Okay, we're dying. Listen, Zarius Smith. First of all, there's a lot of bad juju going on in Philadelphia, right? But Zarius Smith all of a sudden gets out, retires, right? They've already lost Nolan Smith. You know that a few weeks ago to IR. They had multiple guys. The Josh Sweat leaves free agency. Brandon Graham retires. They're suffering from a pass rush. Jalen Hunt has not stepped up the way we all thought he was going to do. So there's a lot of whispers because Nakobe Dean is back. Okay, because Nakobe Dean is back. There's a lot of whispers that what we're doing is we're going to take Jahad Campbell and make him a bona fide pass rusher, which he is their speediest linebacker. He is their speediest linebacker. So because of that, I look in my eyes and say, this is opening up TJ Hawkinson. Already a Pro Bowl tight end. And by the way, Carson Wentz makes a living when he was in Philadelphia throwing to the tight end. Okay? So he is going to try to get this game going early and often, and he's going to look to TJ. So I love TJ Hawkinson in this game, specifically because Jahad Campbell coming up and leaving him open. Again, I'm not saying he's going to leave him open, but that's their best guy physicality-wise. Okay? So I do think, again, that this is going to be something that you have to keep an eye on in Philadelphia as they try to get cute. Vic Fangio is a guy who likes to get pressure from all four, but he hasn't been able to do it recently. He's been able to try, or he's been prone to do blitzes more than usual, which is leaving the tight end and the running back in situations either one-on-one or open in space. And I think that's going to open up for TJ Hawkinson. So I really, really like him. Now, Sean checking in says -1. So, Sean, this is a combo bet we need to make. Okay? This is a combo bet we need to make, in my opinion. All right? We need to make this, in my opinion, we need to make this, again, McNichols over 10.5 receiving yards. Okay? That's got to hit. And over 1.5 receptions. Combo that up, it's probably going to be like, I don't know, maybe like +120, right? Something like that. And then maybe we'll be able to get a boost on that, but whatever. The fact of the matter is, it's going to be a plus money combo, and it's a guy that I really, really feel really, really dead set on this week for elevating his game a little bit when it comes to receiving. So thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. Let me get back to here are my other DFS values. So specifically, let's talk about Arizona. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to touch this. I get it because it's Green Bay and it's Micah Parsons and and Quay Walker and they have all these guys that they feel and it could be a Pro Bowl or a Super Bowl caliber defense. I understand. I get it. However, Jacoby Brissett, if you're going to get a quarterback at 4,500, that's the way you win in DFS. And also, that's the way you win in fantasy if you need a streamer, when you have bye weeks, when you have injuries, right? You have to think about that. Jacoby Brissett showed me last week he can still get it done. And I was surprised. Like, I like Jacoby Brissett. And, he's again, when you're an older quarterback, a veteran quarterback, a lot of what you do is based on adrenaline. You are running on adrenaline. Okay. That's what you're running on. And I look at this, look, over and under is a 45.5 line, which means there's going to be some points scored in this game, right? It's going to be like right now, Josh Jacobs, game time decision. I think he'll probably play. I think he'll probably play. Marvin Harrison is in concussion protocol, says he's up, he's expected to play. So that's something I think that we have to keep an eye on, right? And there's the interesting question for fantasy football. I'm in that specific area. Like, I have Marvin Harrison Jr., but this is a late game. right? So when you look at that, you go, what do you do? What do you do? Like, do you wait? Do you have to? Because then you have to have somebody that's available to get in, right? It's a 4 o'clock game. So make sure that you have somebody to flip. Now, for me, what I did was I have Kendrick Bourne. I have Kendrick Bourne, who, again, I'm not saying I'm loving him, but again, I'm looking at that game. I think that's going to be a lot of points scored in that Falcons game tonight. At least he gives me an option. So if it looks like Marvin Harrison is going to play, I could flip them later after 1 o'clock and make sure they're not your flex spot. And you know the drill if you're fantasy football. Okay. You should know the drill by now. But I like Brissett because, listen, this is going against everything. Green Bay's only have 5.5 yards per attempt. I get it. All right. They give up the least amount of rushing yards to the quarterback. I get it. I understand. And I know that the 3.7 number is going to scare everybody away from the rushing perspective, whether it be Bam Knight, Michael Carter. There's something about this shows me, again, it's about value. Am I expecting to go out and put up a 30-point game? No. However, if Jacoby Brissett at 4,500 can go out there and do 90% of what he did last week in Indianapolis, he threw the ball 44 times. They're not afraid to throw with Jacoby Brissett. 44 times. He threw for 320. Okay, and he also rushed at 6 yards per rush 3 times. He had 26 points last week. And he's still only 4,500. It's because they're looking at the opposing side and they're looking at that Green Bay defense. I'm not scared. I think he puts up a decent number for that 4,500. I think he listen, 4,500 people. If he gives you 15 for 4,500, you got to be happy. That to me is a value play. People don't want to touch it because they think he might give him single digits. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I think he will be extremely valuable, especially now that they have so many issues in the backfield that now he becomes one of those backs just like a Jalen Hurts, right? Down or a Taysom Hill right down to goal line. So if they have any opportunity, you best believe that Jacoby Brissett is probably going to be the guy pushing it in. So make sure, again, that's why I like Jacoby Brissett. All right. My man Tim checking this says, what do you think of Courtland Sutton? Oh, I love the donut story. Tim, I love the donut story. Like I'm a very emotional guy, and that brought tears to my eyes. Literally, because here's a guy in Courtland Sutton that you don't hear a lot from Courtland Sutton. That's the thing. He's not like this big media mouth, right? The Courtland Sutton's not the guy who's, staying in his locker room conducting court, right? Honestly, he's not that guy. So that's why I love the donut there. And you're right, man. If there is any time, right? If there is any time that we expect another big game, because let's face it, he didn't have a great game last week, right? From Courtland Sutton standards, right? From Courtland Sutton standards. But this is one of those weeks. Okay. This is one of those weeks where you're right. You start to say, I'm gonna go all in, all right, on Courtland Sutton, man. Like, this is one of those weeks where you're like, okay, bad week last week. All right, I'm going to go in on Courtland Sutton against the Giants, who, listen, they're decent from. I don't know what happened to the Eagles beat themselves last week. So don't go and say, oh, listen, see how they locked down everybody. I would not buy into that. I would not buy into that at all. Okay. Courtland Sutton is got to be a fade. Listen, he still had, actually, no, he didn't have. I thought he had 8 targets, and I thought he dropped a lot of them. He only had 3. That was a bad game. But again, this is 100% tailored to him bouncing back. It's a great story. I think he's not. I know some sites have him as a wide receiver 2. I have him as a wide receiver 1. I think he finishes top 12 this week. I think he finishes a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy and could push for top 5. I think that's how good he does this week. I think this is one of his, one of those lines where you get 6-7 catches for $130 and 1 to 2 touchdowns. I think that he puts up that kind of game in this atmosphere with this story, with that guardian angel shining down on him. I really, really like that a lot. So I'm glad you brought that up. I love Cortland Sutton. Bo Nix rushing ladder. I like that. The Bo Nix. I love the quarterback rushing ladders. Let's talk about that for sure. All right, let me get back to this because I want to give you guys. I try to stick to 30 minutes. We'll go about 10 more minutes. I got two crazy ass parlays that I want to share. But before I do that, I just want to touch on Kareem Hunt. I think is in a great spot. In a great spot in that game. I listen. The Vegas has no match right now at home. Meaning against KC at home, in my opinion. And I think this game could get out of hand a little bit. And Rashee Rice is back. There's a lot of different things going on. Kansas City's starting to explode. Their offense is starting to click. And when their offense starts to click, and that gives them multiple opportunities to put in wrinkles in the gameplay. And again, I just think that Andy Reid, he loves to put in those wrinkles, right? He loves to put in those wrinkles. So I look at multiple two-back sets. You saw some very aspiring or inspiring runs last week from Isaiah Pacheco. Looks like he's got the flash back a little bit, a lot of speed. So I do like that. And I think that only helps Kareem Hunt to make do on the 8 to 10 touches that he's going to get. And I think 4 or 5 of them are going to be out in as a receiver. So that's why I like him under 5,000. I like him to score this week. That's why I like Kareem Hunt. Let's go Luther Burden. It's another offense that's really starting to get it. Caleb Williams really starting to get it. We talked about this. When that offense was going to click out there in Chicago, it was going to involve multiple players. Luther Burden continues to grow every single week. Remember, I was all in Alamada Zacchaeus in the first couple weeks because I told you that I love the third receiver, right, in a Ben Johnson offense. I love the third receiver in a Ben Johnson offense. Now, I know that they're dealing with some injuries and stuff in Chicago, so every now and then, Luther Burden has become the second option in that offense behind Rome Odunze, and that's because you got DJ Moore still dealing with the groin injury, right? That's a problem. Listen, the groin injury is an issue, okay? Even if you play, it's going to limit you, especially if you're DJ Moore and you're built on speed, right? So you're going to go Odunze, and the next guy for me is Luther Burden. Like, and even when DJ Moore was healthy, if you look, he was still involved with a few targets, but he's going up every single week. 1, 2, 3, 4. You follow, right? You follow, right? Last week it was 4 for 51. And the thing that I like is if you go to his stat page, you're going to see 3 weeks with negative yardage. That means they weren't using him the right way. They were trying to figure out where he can be like on the field. And he's had a lot of comparisons to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So listen, think about that. A lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown in the beginning. What did Ben Johnson used to like? Wide receiver screens, right? Little bubble screens. So what happens? He's trying to put Luther Burden in that same situation, and it's not working, whether it be blocking scheme not working, whether it be just Luther not really getting it, taking a wrong route. I don't know. That's where the negative yards comes in. But when he puts him in better roles to see where he fits, you see 101 and 51, which means he's getting it. That means Ben Johnson's getting it, and he's learning his rookie player. It's a former 5-star top 10 player, man. Let's not forget about that, right? A lot of analysts predicted him to be the best wide receiver in the draft. So, like, pump the brakes a little bit when you see a lot of this stuff. You have to see. Nobody's really looked at that. Nobody's looking at that -3, that 5, or I think it's like -5 or -2. Everybody's like right away, nothing to do with him. I want nothing to do with Luther Burden. He stinks. He can't do anything. Nobody's looking at what the 101-51 means. Everybody thinking that's inconsistency. It's not. It's about the coach learning his player and the player finally getting it. This is going to be a good week for Luther Burden. I'm telling you right now, he was 4 for 51. Let's just pepper a couple more targets his way. We'll go 4 to 6, and we'll go 50, 70, and maybe a touchdown. But he's going 5 for 70 this week, in my opinion. And that's what Luther Burden's going to do. 100%. And last but not least, before we get to the parlays, let's get to Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson, again, this wasn't had anything to do with Marvin Harrison. right? I know he's gained time. It's not because I thought or I think maybe Marvin doesn't play or with the concussion protocol. No, I like Michael Wilson. Listen, when Jacoby Brissett as a veteran comes in, the veteran quarterback, you see it. You saw it with Joe Flacco, right? You saw it with Joe Flacco. I know he peppered the hell out of Jamar Chase, but he got so many people involved. Sovius got involved. Noah Fant got involved. T. Higgins get involved. The veteran quarterback will always distribute the ball better than a guy who only sees one route. And how many times have we talked about Kyler Murray locking in too much on just one receiver and that being sometimes his ultimate downfall? You're not going to get that with Jacoby Brissett. So I like looking at this game script. Look at the again, and I'm not afraid of the Green Bay defense. I'm going to continue. I'm not afraid of them in this game. I'm going to go against them. I am. So I look at Michael Wilson, and I look at a big body receiver. Okay, and again, I look at he's the next guy, but he's got 23 targets already this year. And last week, what happened? Last week, he had 5 targets and 4 catches. And you're like, so what? That was the best target to catch ratio he has supplied all year long. Why is that? You have a better quarterback. Why is that? You have a quarterback that's hitting you in stride. Why is that? You're having a quarterback that allows you to make a play. Oh, and honestly, the other thing, the highest yards per catch all year were with Jacoby Brissett. So I am telling you right now, that's why I like Michael Wilson at 3,800. I think he's a stud at that price for DFS. So there you go. There's my DFS values right there. Brissett, Hunt, Burden, Wilson, and then back to the tight ends. We go. Mason Taylor, TJ Hawkinson. All right, screw it. Let's get involved. Let's have some fun. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. If you are on X, do me a favor. If you are on X, I would appreciate it. Hop over to YouTube. Go to YouTube at Tony Cutillo Show. Hit like, hit subscribe. Very, very simple. You need some promos. You need some deals. It's very simple. Scan that QR code. Everything is there. I have a free Discord. You could jump into that as well. Very, very simple. There's no catch. Yes, it is free. Okay, but all the promos and special deals are there. But the biggest thing you do to help support these efforts is to like and subscribe. Okay, very, very simple. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Now, let's get again, and we like to thank, as always, our proud sponsors at BetQL, our partners over there, betql.co. Okay, 15% off. Use the code word Jigsaw. You get everything in one spot. You get your bets in one spot. You get your weather reports in one spot. You get everything in one spot. Your over and unders, your sharp money reports. Okay, your fades, your 5-star bets, your best. It's all right there at BetQL for every single game. So get involved. If you need some more information, let me know. Well, let's get to the parlay, shall we? Let's get to the parlay. So here is one of my jigsaw crazy parlays. Okay, and I don't think it's really that jigsaw crazy when you look at it. When you look at these numbers. Now, again, 1449. I used the 25% parlay boost on this. Okay, over at DraftKings. I did this on DraftKings to get the 25% parlay boost. Right off the bat, we're going TJ Hawkinson. I told you about TJ. Okay, I told you about TJ. I like TJ a lot today. Just rewind, go back. It'll explain to you why I like TJ. Now let's get to Tony Pollard. Listen, a lot of things going on out there. I know they're playing New England. I understand it. But when you have a coaching change, different things happen. Right? Different things happen. I don't know what they are. We don't know what they are. Players play a different kind of way. Systems are implemented in a different kind of way. So I look at saying, who has shown me that no matter what, that they can ball out if given the opportunity, right? If all stars align, they can ball out. And Tony Pollard continues to have that spurt, okay? Right? He continues to have that purge, that spurt, right? And again, Brian Callahan fired. We know what would happen. Mike McCoy named interim head coach. Now, I'm not going to go back and look at what Mike McCoy has obviously done in his past. I'm not going to look at any of that. All I'm going to look at is Your number one receiver is out in Calvin Ridley. Now, I know Cam Ward has not had the best showing. Okay. I know. I get it. I understand. However, I do think the best way to get this guy going is the smaller gameplay. Okay. Now, I know that Tajay Spears is coming on. And I know that Tajay Spears has inserted himself and actually got a little more clock than Tony Pollard last week. However, I just think that they were just trying to find something, right? They were just trying to find something. So again, I think this is where you flip the script in the first week, whether you're interim or full-time head coach, and you just go in and say, okay, let me take my top 3 players. Okay. And to me, it's going to be Cam Ward right now. Based on injuries, it's going to be Ward, it's going to be Ellick, and it's going to be Pollard. And then number 4 is going to be Tajay Spears. And we're going to build an offense around him. And we're going up against a really good stalwart in the New England Patriots. However, this could be garbage time clock. This could be anything. But that's why I went with the R&R. That's why I went with the R&R. I went with the rushing and receiving just to play it safe. And that 60 yards is not a lot. Okay? In my opinion, it's not a lot when you're talking about a combo, when you're talking about R&R. Okay? So I do like that. Listen, he's averaging at least 15 yards per game, basically. If you look at it in a nutshell, if you don't want to throw in the 29 yards in week 1 and you want to take out week 2, he's averaging 12 and a half to 13. So let's just call it 13. So we're going to give him 13 yards right off the bat that we think he's already going to get. Okay, because that's what he's averaged, right? So we're going to get 13 yards off that 66, right? 13 yards off that 66. And right away, where you at? 53. So now I need 53 rushing. This is the way I do my bets, people. All right. Then I need 53 rushing. Week 1, 60. He was over that. Week 2, 92. He was over that. Week 3, 45. He was below that. Okay. Happens, right? Week 4, 64 over. Week 5, 67 over. Week 6, last week, there was a lot of inconsistencies last week. He was under it at 34. But I'm going to take the 80% over anytime. So that's why I liked him to get those 53 based on the 13 out of the backfield, as a receiver and get that R&R and hit on that number. That's where I'm going right there. And then let's talk about Rashee Rice. Actually, you know what? I was just giving you the math based on the 66 and a half. Okay. Looking at Rashee Rice's number, but Tony Pollard, he gets 60, right? So now that 53 turns into 47. That 53 turns into 47. Still 80%, but I'm just throwing it out there. Now, let's look at Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice did not miss time of it because of an ACL. Rashee Rice did not miss time because of an injury. Rashee Rice looked like one of the happiest guys I've ever seen at that press conference that he can't wait to get on the field. If you think that Andy Reid is not going to put him out there, knowing who Andy Reid is right off the bat with a full workload, you're crazy. You're crazy. Okay? You are absolutely crazy. I wouldn't be shocked if the first 6 friggin' targets go to Rashee Rice. And that team is clicking on all cylinders. That team is clicking on all cylinders, okay? Like, I look at that and I'm like, yo, this is setting out to be a Rashee Rice get back, coming home kind of game, right? So I think that number at 66 and a half is super low. So I'm all in. And then one of the no value on this number on Omar Gatson. No value. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like, single bets, forget about it. Minus 160, minus 170. Nothing. All I did was I wanted to juice up this parlay just a little bit on a number that I think is like a stone cold lock. And based on the legs and the boost, I thought it made sense. So Gatson again, I know Quentin Johnston's back. I understand that, but they developed, they're developing a new offensive system out there a little bit, with the insertion of Gatson, and all I'm asking him to get is 3 catches. And looking at the way that game is going to go, The Colts, listen, Jacoby Brissett threw the ball 44 times last week in Arizona because they had to keep up with the Shane Steichen offense out there in Indianapolis. Justin Herbert is going to throw the shit out of the ball this week. And again, we're only asking Gatson, who was heavily involved last week, to give me 3 catches. And I don't care about where you say, well, it could have been because of injury and Disley and just came back and all that. I don't care. It doesn't matter. When you have a guy that shows he can play, even if it's part-time, you consistently get him some clock. And Gatson is going to get some clock. No other way I look at it for me. No other way. Right? That's again, and I know, listen, I says all the time, everybody has their own systems. Nobody is perfect. Okay. But this is the way I think. All right. This is the way I think. And again, I know a lot of people are going to think like that. Right. Not a lot of people are going to think like that. Everybody's going to go with the big guns, right? They're going to go with Quentin Johnson. They're going to go with Lad McConkey. Okay. They're going to Kimani Vidal. They're, Keenan Allen. Everybody's going to talk about these guys. But again, I think you have to get a little different when we talk about value. Okay, let me just give you real quick before I get to the other crazy parlay, because I want to get to the other crazy parlay too. All right, I just want to give you an idea of why. Now you're going to see Gatson week 3, 7 targets. Last week, 8 targets. This guy, and in between, only 4. I don't care, right? I don't care. Tyler Conklin, if you have not missed it, he's out. Will Disley came back. He looked like he was running in cement last week. No disrespect to Will Disley. He ain't it. They found their guy in Oronde Gatson. They found their guy. So if you get 8 targets for 7 catches, right? Are you a 90+% target to catch ratio in a game that should have a lot of fireworks? And I only need you to get 3. I'm in. Sign me up. That's all I got to say. I'm done. Okay. Very, very simple. Now let's end this with a banger, shall we? Let's end this with an absolute banger. Now, this is only a 3-pick parlay. This is an anytime touchdown. I love doing these. Okay. I love doing them. They're cute. Listen, shout out to Kilkenny. I love Kilkenny, and his moonshots taught me a lot from watching his streams. I love the way he's always done it. Great dude. Great concepts. I love it. So that's what gave me the idea of getting Jigsaw crazy because of Kilkenny and the moonshots. Kenny's the man. Okay. So I love doing a Jigsaw crazy. And it's a shout out to Kilkenny because Kenny is the guy that perfected this. Okay. And created it. I'm riding his coattails when it comes to getting a little crazy. Okay. I ain't ashamed to say that. So we're going to go Jigsaw crazy right here. 3-pick parlay. Yes. Look at the number. Okay. Look at the number. 105, 203. You ain't freaking hiding. And I'm not, listen, before all the hate starts rolling in, when people go, oh, look at these amateurs with the parlay. Listen, man, it's all about fun. Okay. Like it's all about fun. Yes. Look at Japan just checked in. Look at that. Now, I have a theory with every single one of these. Okay. Carson Wentz, anytime touchdown. You guys and girls understand Jigsaw's mind works a little different. It's not always about analytics to me when I put these crazy parlays up. It's just about reading the room a little bit. My wife hates when I say reading the room. So I'm going to say it. She doesn't watch this. She hates football, but that's okay. I'm going to say reading the room because she hates when I say it, right? And I live to piss her off. So reading the room. Carson Wentz, again, major ego. There's a reason why he never sticks to one team. Okay, there's a reason why he's been traded. There's just a reason why he can't get over some things. That's who Carson Wentz is. That's who Carson Wentz will continue to be. Carson Wentz is facing his old team. Carson Wentz is a gritty player. Carson Wentz is watching the tush push. Carson Wentz is watching Jalen Hurts. I am telling you, Kevin McConnell, okay, he's another guy who is an extremely smart play caller, who always makes his quarterbacks look good. And there's going to be a couple opportunities. Remember, This is a team. I know everybody's talking about Scott as the second running back. Everybody's talking about Jordan Macy. Yes, I get all that. I get all that. However, if there's a spot on the goal line with 1 yard to go, Carson Wentz is getting that rock. And Carson Wentz is hitting that. His anytime touchdown is plus 1,000. It's 10-1. His ATD alone is 10-1. So we're throwing it in there. Tommy Tremble. What do we talk about with Bryce Young? Blades and fades. My son was all in on Bryce Young this week. Okay. He likes Bryce Young against the Jets. The Jets right now have shown the ability to stop nobody. They show to be a complete shit show out there. And Carolina, Dave Canales is starting to really call really good games for the Rook. Okay. So Tommy Tremble is a guy that gets overlooked a lot because he plays in Carolina. He doesn't throw up monster games, right? We know all that. The guy, listen, he's got 20 targets this year, but he's got 20 targets. And he's got 2 touchdowns in the past 4 games. Okay. And since Bryce Young has started to really play, he's elevated his yards per catch average from 7.5 to 15. He's doubled it with the same amount of targets. Tommy Tremble is involved when it gets down to the 20 and the goal, which is obviously called the red zone. So he's going to have, in my opinion, 2 opportunities in the red zone to score. Whether that's Bryce Young being flushed out, whether that's going to be play action because Chuba Hubbard is back. It's another thing. Chuba Hubbard's back. Rico Dowdle has solidified himself as a hell of a running back for that team. That just gives Dave Canales another weapon. Another weapon. People forget he's a brilliant offensive mind. He was in Tampa Bay, and he continues to be. He's just trying to get the personnel together. A young quarterback, a young offensive line, trying to get everything together. Now he's got 2 running backs that could do damage. 2 of them, which means more opportunities for trick plays, whether it be shovel plays or screen passes or play action to the tight end for a guy like Tommy Tremble, who is very, very athletic. So again, anytime touchdown, Tommy Tremble. And then the same game that we just talked about with Cortland Sutton, the same game against the Giants, okay, against the Giants with the Broncos is the same game I'm going to hit. And we're going to go long shot here. We're going to go with the Rook because here's why we're going to go with the Rook and Pat Bryant. We heard all about Pat Bryant. Okay. We heard all that. There's a reason why in the offseason, before the season started, they shipped Devon Vele over to the Saints because they knew Pat Bryant can get it done. Pat Bryant has elevated himself in the past 3 weeks above Marvin Mims on the depth chart. He is now wide receiver 3 on the official depth chart. I would tell you that by halfway of the season, which we're almost there, he's going to elevate himself to wide receiver 2 on the depth chart. Now, again, he's not getting a ton of looks. I get it, right? I understand that. However, last week showed me with the 2 for 22 game that he's being inserted into the game. And he's being trusted more by Sean Payton. Sean Payton takes time, veteran coach. He wants to make sure he trusts you, whether that's making sure you're running the right routes, whether you see the right reads, whether you're open in space, are you coming back for the ball? Okay. Are you holding on to the ball? Are you blocking downfield with a running attack by J.K. Dobbins? Like, there's a lot of things that go into this, right? Maybe you're missing assignments. We don't know. But eventually, when you get in those good graces, eventually you're going to be utilized, especially in an offensive attack that they want to employ out there in Denver. So again, in a game where I think can be exploded upon when it comes to the over and under, based on, I'm not talking about a Dallas and Giants game, but I do think that Bo Nix throws 3 touchdowns in this game. I think, and one of them is going to go to Cortland Sutton. That means there's going to be 2 up for grabs. Will one be Evan Ingram to show his old team up? That's fine. Give me Pat Bryant for the 3rd. So that's why I'm going Pat Bryant right here. So that's where I'm sticking to. Again, that's a 3-pick parlay, ATD, all those guys, highly average. I think that the lowest might be like plus 380, 3.5 to 1, which is Tommy Tremble. But Bryant, I think it's like 6 to 1, and obviously Carson Wentz is 10 to 1, and I would bet those anytime touchdowns as well. All right, baby, we're gonna get to it. It's 11 a.m. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna go put some bets in, some more bets, set some lines. Make sure you get over into the free Discord. How do you get to the free Discord? Very, very simple. Scan this QR code right here. I will be active today on Discord. I know I haven't recently, but things going on. Try to get some other things, ironed out and things of that nature. So be active in Discord. Get ready for multiple games tonight, tomorrow. Be active in there. Not, again, making sure that we get the best value possible when we talk about the alternative edge. As always, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Make sure you scan the QR code right here to get all those promos. And again, any questions at all, open book. I'm in Discord. Check me out. Everybody have a fantastic day. Go Birds and go Bets.